Thank you so much for having me at the summit today. It is a real honor and privilege to have the opportunity to speak to you today on the trends that are transforming governments around the world. Before I get into this year's trends, I wanted to take a quick look back to the trends of 2020, which came out around 2019. And one thing I think you will find striking is how many of these trends ended up playing such an important role in government's COVID response. From the cloud to digital identity to AI in government to anticipatory government, the governments that made the most progress in these trends often proved the best able to contain and respond to the pandemic. Government Trends 2021 highlights the most transformative trends in government today, many of them driven or accelerated by the response to the pandemic. A number of the trends indicate changes to how the public sector does business, an accelerated transition to digital government, more seamless and personalized service delivery, and hybrid work. The approaches governments take will reinforce those trends. Strategies like data-informed policies, government as a cognitive system that learns from those data dynamics, and agile government to take advantage of the speed of operations. New principles will inform these operations, cybersecurity that considers the full security environment, inclusive and equity-based design of public services, and efforts to sustain trust in government. COVID-19 accelerated in some cases by years the advance of the future of government, especially digital government. By necessity, government's response to the pandemic resulted in rapid change of the sort generally not seen in the public sector. From telework to telehealth, virtual courts to virtual education, rarely in modern history have we seen so many large-scale experiments in government rolled out so quickly and at such massive scale. Our survey of 800 government officials globally on digital government, including in Japan, reveals where their digital priorities now lie and how far governments still have to go in digital transformation and what it will take to get there. Nearly 3/4 of survey respondents agree that digital helped them cope with COVID-19. And the vast majority of governments are already seeing the benefits of digital initiatives that they launched at the start of the pandemic. Before the pandemic, governments were primarily doing digital. That is, leveraging digital technologies to enhance their capabilities, but still largely relying on legacy operating models. COVID-19 propelled many of the governments into the next stage of digital transformation. They're now becoming digital, doing the work to embed digital technologies and processes even deeper into their organizations. But even with all the progress, much work is still required to truly be digital. When government organizations reach this stage, they'll use technologies like cyber, cloud, and AI to elevate the human experience and radically transform service delivery and back office operations. Over the past few decades, the private sector's focus on customer experience has heightened citizen expectations on service delivery. Citizens carry these expectations to the government side and expect their governments to provide a similar seamless service delivery experience. Now, seamless service delivery has several key elements. It needs to be personalized, frictionless, proactive, and it should be anticipatory in nature, almost preempting what the citizen actually needs. Estonia is passionate about building a frictionless government, so much so, in fact, that it is often invisible. Government services should be so seamless that they do not intrude or impose on citizens' lives. The best service is something that you even didn't notice you got. In Estonia, before October 2019, parents had to apply for one or more of 10 types of family benefits linked to the life event of a child being born. Parents would provide a host of details along with supporting documents to officials. Then officials would go through the forms, calculate the benefits manually, and grant the benefits. It took about 2 hours to process each application. However, now the family benefits dispersal in Estonia combines several elements of seamless service delivery, tailoring services around life events, the once only principle, and providing proactive, no-touch services. Families now don't even have to apply for the benefit. The automated IT system sends a query to the population register every night to get data on new births, the names of newborn children, and the names of the parents. The system fetches the data of eligible parents from other data systems and determines the total amount of benefits they're eligible for. After collecting all this information, the system proactively offers the benefits to parents, which all they need to do is confirm, and the money is then automatically transferred to the accounts. The entire process, which used to take 2 hours, can now be completed in 30 seconds. Next is agile government. In response to COVID-19, many governments have begun to use agile methodologies to tackle a range of challenges. As a result, policy, regulatory, and procurement processes are becoming more adaptive and more nimble. This figure models the COVID-19 crisis over time across 3 overlapping phases governments have been passing through: the respond phase, the recover phase, and the thrive phase. The pandemic has shown that governments can embrace agility in a crisis. And in the post-pandemic world that we're soon entering, citizens will expect the same kind of agility in all government processes and services. One of the major areas we're seeing this agile government is in agile regulation. Adaptive regulatory approaches rely on trial and error and co-design of regulation and standards. They have faster feedback loops. They allow regulators to reevaluate policies using nearly real-time inputs to make revisions. New tools such as policy labs, sandboxes, crowdsourcing, and input from industry provide feedback for them. And soft law mechanisms, which are not legally binding, but create substantive expectations of industry, can help rulemakers address challenges as they arrive without stymieing innovation. Regulatory accelerators and sandboxes enable regulators to partner with private companies and entrepreneurs to experiment with relaxing regulations on new technologies in environments that foster innovation. One of the biggest areas that we've seen the growth of these sandboxes is in fintech technologies. And we see dozens of these regulatory sandboxes around fintech all over the world. Lastly, sustaining public trust in government. While the pandemic increased trust in government in many countries, other countries still have a long way to go in improving citizen trust, including tackling misinformation and communicating about data collection and storage. For the first time in 2 decades, government was the most trusted institution globally, according to a May 2020 Edelman Trust Barometer. Now, unfortunately, this proved fleeting, as many governments lost ground in the last 6 months, down about 8 points globally, due to struggles controlling and coping with the pandemic. Now, in January 2021, Deloitte and Fortune surveyed business CEOs in the United States. And really surprisingly, they said restoring trust in government is their top priority for the Biden administration over the next 2 years. Surprisingly, even more important than COVID relief, economic recovery, infrastructure, and climate change. Now, governments can build greater trust by focusing on 4 key trust signals: humanity, by showcasing fairness in policies and programs and addressing underlying inequities in government programs; transparency, by being open with not just what decisions are made, but also the underlying data where available; capability, by demonstrating their capability to do their job well and promoting that success. This is an important way to show government's competence. And lastly, reliability. Implementing and publicizing controls can help government show that government is spending taxpayer money efficiently and effectively and is reliable, even when unexpected events take place. In many countries, restoring trust in government, building greater trust, is really one of the top priorities. And by focusing on these 4 key trust signals and by focusing on intent and competence, governments can go a long way towards building that greater trust. Well, thank you for having me here today. It was a real pleasure to be able to speak with you, and I hope you have a great rest of your summit. Thank you so much.